What's up, guys? It's Justin from the Talking Pixels podcast, and I just wanted to take a minute to let you guys know about some big news from our sponsor over at the Pixel Connection. Pixel Photo Fest is back for 2021 and is looking better than ever. Taking place at Cleveland's own Wolstein Center on October 14th, 15th, and 16th, this immersive in-person event promises to be an educational, fun experience you won't soon forget. And even better, if you bought a ticket to last year's, your 2021 ticket is absolutely free. Call the store over at 440-934-1544 or email social@thepixelconnection.com to find out how you can claim your free 2021 ticket. If you didn't attend last year's, but you want to attend this year, tickets can be purchased at www.pixelphotofest.com. And free tickets can only be claimed until August 15th, so you better act fast. Now let's get into today's episode. What's up? I'm Justin, and welcome to the Talking Pixels podcast, helping you take your photography from a hobby to career. I'm super stoked to introduce today's guest to all of you. He's known for many things, but most notably his pristine use of lighting, infectious personality, and using his insane skills to educate photographers on YouTube and at conferences. Today, I'd like to introduce you all to Toronto-based wedding and portrait photographer, Derrel Ho-Shing. Derrel, what's up, man? How are you doing today?
What's going on, man? I'm good, man. How's it going?
Oh, going great, going great. How are things up in Toronto right now?
It's warming up. It's like 20. That's Celsius for you guys. Right. I don't know what you guys, the whole world goes by Celsius, and,
except
you guys want to be
us, right?
Yeah. It's warm out. So it's probably what? 20s, what? Maybe.
Can't imagine it's too much different than down here. I'm in the northern United States, so I think today we were probably in the mid 60s Fahrenheit. So probably somewhere in that range. There's a conversion. I don't know what it is. I don't do math. That's why I'm a photographer, right?
I got the math, but
yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and making some time out of your schedule to hop on and have this conversation. We did a little kind of intro for you here before we hopped in and started recording, kind of what to expect and what the premise of the podcast is. But for anyone who's maybe listening to this for the first time, like I mentioned, the goal of the Talking Pixels podcast is to help people who have an interest in photography as a hobby, but want more out of it, take that hobby and turn it into a career path. So we bring on professionals like yourself, Derrel, to kind of talk to them a little bit more about their business and, the industry and your journey through photography. So I came across you, actually. I was attending Imaging this year, which was a virtual conference, which was very unique. There's been a lot of uniqueness in 2020 into 2021 that we haven't had before. But I caught your presentation there, and you're doing a presentation on lighting, which is always something that I love to learn more about. I'm very passionate about off-camera flash myself. And I felt like, between your personality and your teaching style, that you would be a great fit for the podcast. So I had to reach out to you on Instagram and see if you'd be interested in doing this. And I got to say, thank you again for joining me. But for people who may not know you, maybe why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself and like your journey into photography from, maybe where you started to kind of where you're at now and what you're doing.
Well, as you already introduced me, Derrel Ho-Shing, portrait wedding photographer based out of Toronto, Canada. I started my journey in 2009, and it was just picking up a camera. I was good with, I like taking pictures with my little point and shoot. And, I got a decent camera. Well, I got a DSLR. And at the time I was like, man, this is like the greatest camera in the world. And I just started taking pics of my friends and then putting them on Facebook. People thought I was a professional photographer, so I just went along with it. And right. And just went along with it. Yeah. And, I wanted to get into weddings and eventually got into it, hooked up with another photographer and, we did our first wedding, and then from there you get referrals, and here I am today.
Of course. And yeah, and
That's the
here
trailer.
you are.
That's the trailer of my
Right. I was going to say that seems like the oversimplified version because from what I've heard, you went from being a self-taught photographer to now educating other photographers on how to be better photographers, which is a feat in itself.
Well, that's the documentary. You're getting into the documentary there, man.
Right.
Way too early.
Well, that's what this is all about, right? We're getting into these hard-hitting questions. I gotta pull it out of you here. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, one, lighting, because that's kind of how I came across you, and I myself am passionate about lighting and learning more about it. So I want to learn a little bit more about that, learn a little bit more about your wedding business here, and how you kind of built up to where you're at now. So I want to dive into the lighting aspect here first, I think.
Okay.
And so I want to talk about how you went from a self-taught photographer to a lighting wizard and an educator, a full-time professional. I mean, what is that, how did your interest in like the off-camera flash start? Because I know on YouTube you do a lot of tutorial type things and behind the scenes shoots of, your location shoots with models, or I've seen your wedding ones as well. So how did your interest in lighting kind of come about, and what's your kind of experience with getting into lighting?
So lighting, it's a good question. I've always been a very artistic individual. I was in art school. I used to draw. I got into like graffiti art. I got into like music and making beats and so forth. And then I got into photography. So when I'd gotten into photography, art was already a part of me, right? Expressing myself artistically was something I did since I was a kid, and something that I continuously did up till that point. So to me, it was just another avenue to express my art, really. And for the lighting, it was just, I would see photos with lighting and I would be like, man, that looks so cool. And I remember when I got my first camera and I had the on-camera flash, and I remember bouncing it to my ceiling. And to me, that was like the most amazing thing, because I was just like, whoa, this looks so professional, right? Just bouncing the light. Right. And that was like the first trick I learned in photography, like bouncing the light. That was the first trick I learned, to make that light soft. And I was just like, wow, because up until that point, an on-camera flash was direct and harsh, straight and ugly, right? So when I saw, okay, I'm going to put a flash on the camera, I already know what it's going to look like. But then when you bounce it, I was just like, wow. So that blew my mind away. So I started looking more into lighting, and then I'd get into like off-camera lighting. And I'm trying to think, because this was going back late 2009, early 2010. So we're talking like 11 years ago.
But that's early, at least into your career of photography. My career, right? Yeah. You got into lighting, which was something I didn't really get into until a few years into my career learning it. So that's interesting to hear in itself. So yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I kind of cut you off there.
Yeah, but like it was just, I started looking into lighting, and I found a local photographer, Karima Johnny. And I was just like, yo, this guy is so sick. Like his lighting was just so dope. And I remember reading his bio, and he says his influence was Hype Williams. And if you're into hip hop, Hype Williams is a video director. He did a lot of P. Diddy and Mace and Biggie, like all those, Jay-Z. And so those flashy lighting, that was his inspiration. And when I'd look at his photos, and I was like, yeah, I could see that. So I got into that. And I remember there wasn't that many BTS photos or behind the scenes videos. There wasn't many behind the scenes photos. So when you'd see one with lighting, it was like, ooh, you'd save that photo, because it's like, hey man, like this is how they do it. So I think Kareem had one. And then I remember just going on random forums. Facebook groups didn't even exist back then. It was like you had to go on like forums. Right. And a friend got me onto one forum. It was like a Canon forum. And there they just had so much off-camera lighting. And that's kind of where I started learning, just watching other photographers, networking. And then they would share their settings and their BTS. And then I'd be like, okay, I see that. That's kind of lighting. Okay, so I'm like, okay, I need to get that kind of lighting. They got these kind of lenses. Okay, I need to get these kind of lenses.
Mm-hmm.
So I would see what they would use, and I'd know, okay, I kind of need this. And then I would just dabble, play with lighting. You know, I got my speed light. And I remember I got these cheap Chinese triggers. I don't even know what they were called. Like, this was before Godox, before Phoenix, before it was literally
Young Yo probably even
before Young. It was, I don't even know the name of this brand. It was just literally a no-name brand, and that was a game changer for me at that point, because now I'm like, yo, I got a trigger and I could trigger my flash. Actually, no, scrap that. Before that, my first dabble with off-camera flash was I had the wired.
Oh yeah.
So you put the on the hot shoe, and it had like the little curly wire, and you'd have to hold it. So I'd be like that. Yep. And then what happens is people would be like looking at the light, like, no, look at me.
Oh, so, yeah. People still do that, right? Like you put up a flash and they look at it. I'm like, no, I'm over here, right?
so I'm shooting like this the whole time. And then I got the Canon 7D, and the 7D had the pop-up flash, which acts as the infrared.
Right.
So I got that, and that was kind of like a game-changing for me. But it was still hard because you're dealing with line of sight, right?
Right.
So that was kind of like my first off-camera. It was the 7D with the line of sight and like a Canon speed light. That was like my first dabble with off-camera flash. Then I got those Chinese triggers. And then when I got the triggers, it was like a game changer. I was like, oh man, I put in my softbox or umbrella, and I was just one light, didn't really know what I was doing, right? And it was when I watched Zach Arias's One Light DVD. He had a one light workshop, and I watched that, and that literally changed everything. With regards to lighting, like Zach Arias was like, for me, that was like the first time I was like, I get it. I understand lighting. Because before I'm like, okay, I just got the light here, that, all right, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to put that power. Sure, that means that. Okay, I was just winging it.
Sure, that looks good.
Sure, it looks good. Okay, yeah. Okay, I did that last time, so let me do that again. Didn't really understand what was, and then when I watch that DVD, and I was like, oh, I understood. And then when I went out and practiced, then I was like, okay, this is game over now, man. Now that, because I always had the ideas, I always had the imagination, but now that I understand how to do it, I was like, oh, it's game over, man. And then from there, it's just
it took off, right? Yeah, that's awesome. I gotta I was sitting here like smiling as you described that, because I was like thinking back to the first time that I actually used an off-camera flash, which was back in college for me. I actually went to school for photography, and I'd use pop-up flashes, or I'd used on-camera flashes, and even to that point, I didn't really realize the benefits and the power that was in bouncing a flash. So, like you said, I was thinking fill-in flash but on top of your camera is obviously not the best place for a fill-in flash. You come to learn as you experience more using off-camera flash. And then when you create that first image where you get your exposure right and the flash hits the subject right, and it all just kind of comes together, it's an eye-opening experience of like, whoa, I did that. Like this was not where I'm at. This is not this isn't subject to my location. This is me in control now.
Right.
And it's a interest, like, at least for me, that was a really powerful feeling in terms of like, so this is where the art form is, right? Like you can control what you're doing when you're able to no longer, and like what I try to explain to some of my clients too, which actually I have a question about this coming up for you. But a lot of clients, I hear a lot of people are like, I love that natural light look. And there's a balance there that you have to find, and it is a process to learn it, but it is so like what word am I looking for? I don't know. It's just I have such an appreciation for the work that goes into that, because you are seeing things in a different way, and you're no longer at mercy of your location. Now you are the one in control of everything. So that's cool.
Yeah, and like when you nail that off-camera flash shot and the exposure's right, everything's crazy, and then you show your client, And when they freak out, they always freak out because
they've
they don't
never
know
seen
what
that.
you're doing. You know, you set up the light. They're like, okay, what's this? I don't know what's going on. All right, cool. They're thinking it's going to look like natural light. They're thinking it's going to look, hey, this is what I see. You're going to take the picture and it's going to look like what I see. They're not expecting this bright noon sun to come out like nighttime in this photo. And I haven't photoshopped it yet. That's the crazy part. They're like, it's not even photoshopped. So when they see that, then they freak out. And then they say, you're the best photographer in the world.
Right.
And in my head, I'm like, no, I'm not, but I'm not going to correct you.
But I know what I'm doing. Yeah. It's
right? So
a lot of people.
It builds your confidence and it builds their client's confidence in you.
Absolutely. I mean, and and I'm not really a big proponent of the best gear makes you the best. I think that's total BS. Like, you can have all the money in the world. It doesn't necessarily make you a better photographer, but there's something to say, at least in the professional aspect of it, that if you're a professional and you're showing up with professional quality equipment, or at least equipment that gives off the impression that you're a professional, I think that adds to it too. And a lot of people have never seen themselves in that light before, right? And we're in such a digital age of people taking photos on their cell phones and selfies. They're used to direct light. And then if you can show them what they look like with a backlight and a hair light and a nice Rembrandt lighting on their face, it's like,
that's what I was trying to do here.
Me?
I was trying to do that
here. But exactly. I mean, and it just makes such a difference because nobody's used to seeing themselves like that. It just stands out so much.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a great point. But so, in your videos that I've seen on YouTube, at least, I was watching a few just before we got on here too, just to refresh myself and make sure that I was, on point with these questions here. But you take a pretty straightforward approach to understanding off-camera flash, which I find interesting because I think a lot of people overcomplicate off-camera flash and understanding how to use off-camera flash. And in a lot of your videos, you explain what you're doing. I'm using high-speed sync for this photo. Here are my settings. Here's the shot. And it's very straightforward in that this is it. This is how you got it. And that kind of actually sounds like what you explained is how you learned about it, right? You were learning from these behind-the-scenes photos. You were seeing what they shot with, how they shot it. And you're like, I want to create that image. I need this equipment to do that. So I see that connection there. But I think a big part of off-camera flash in general is that a lot of people find it to be difficult. And so how do you approach that when somebody may come up to you and say, oh, well, I would use off-camera flash, but I just don't get it, or I can't understand off-camera flash. How do you go about, explaining it in simple terms to somebody, the benefits of it, but also at the same time that they too can be producing images like that?
Well, I'm a dummy. So I'm a dummy. So when I see these books, photography for dummies, I'm like, that's for me. That's for me. Right? So that's kind of the approach I take. I assume everyone else is a dummy as well. Right? They're coming, I don't understand flash. I'm like, okay, you're a dummy. So I'm going to explain it to you as if you're a dummy. Right? I'm not going to be all complex, inverse square law of this and that. It's a simple, it's really simple, but I think with the whole technical aspect, getting people overcomplicate it, and it's really simple, right? People think off-camera flash is hard, and natural light, I would say, is probably harder because you don't have control of the light. You know what I mean? Like your key light, you do not have control of your key light. Your key light has its own schedule. Okay? Your key light has its own schedule. You go to your key light, hey, can you work? Your key light is not trying to work with your schedule.
Never.
It's not. It doesn't care about you, doesn't care about your schedule, doesn't care about your life, doesn't care about your business, nothing. The natural light, the sun has its own schedule. It does what it wants. And we have to follow. Plain and simple. The sun tells us, hey, I'm coming up at this time and I'm leaving at this time. He tells you,
Build your schedule around me.
Yes, I have the app. I can look 4 years from now, 4 years, 30 days, and I can tell you exactly when the sun is going to rise, when it's going to set. We have that information there, right? So you have to work at the sun's schedule. Off-camera flash, you control your key light. You control where you want it. You control how close, how far. You control how big, how small, like the modifier. You control the power. Like literally, do I want my key light right here? No, I want it right here. Right. I can do that. I want it here. No, I want it there. But I want another light. Okay, I can put another light right here.
Yeah.
And I want another light. You can do it. You're in total control. So to me, that's easier. Yeah. Now, where it gets confusing for people is they see all these lights and the settings and they don't know where to start. That's what it is. They don't know where to start. And I look at it this way. You're driving, you have a destination, but you don't know how to get there. You don't have a GPS, you don't have a map, nothing. You have no navigation, but you're driving, you're in the car, and I'm trying to get to this location, but I don't know where I'm going. So I'm just going to go turn down this street, see where this takes me. Nah, I'm going to go down this street. And now you're like, I can't get here. I'm fed up. It's too complicated. No, it's not complicated. You just don't have navigation.
Right.
And once you get the navigation, how many times have you gone somewhere, you use the navigation, and now you go there a second time, you don't need the navigation because you've had the you know it now, right? So once you get that navigation, and that's what I want to give people, right? You have people that give directions. Okay, go down here, and then you're going to see a red sign and a building, and then when you go there, you turn here. They're going to give you all these landmarks, and then you're just going to get confused. I'm just telling you here, go here, there, simple like that.
Yeah, that's actually a great analogy for it. I've never heard anybody use an analogy in that way, but it really is.
And if you hear anyone use that analogy, they got it from me because I made it up.
Yeah.
Right.
But you're 100% right in that, once you get the understanding of how it works and the easiest way to do it, at least I found, was to do it myself, right? Like, I did go down that experimentation pathway to learn more about it. And then I started, I was using it, but looking back on it, I was using it improperly. Then I learned by watching somebody else. And then I found out how to use that properly. So I did the little trial and error stuff myself, but then the guidance came from, someone like yourself who is saying, this is, it's this simple. Do this, you recreate that every time. It's going to look exactly like that every single time. It's.
I have a 4-step process.
Okay.
Many people use this process. This is not original. So I didn't make this process up. This is standard process. But how I explain the process, I try to break everything down in steps. Okay, so the first step, number 1, choose your aperture. Your aperture determines how much light is coming in, hitting the sensor. It also determines how blurred or in focus your background will be. Okay, this is an artistic choice. So you're going to choose your aperture. So I want my background blurred out, or I want my background in focus, whatever you choose your aperture. Then you're going to choose your shutter speed. And your shutter speed is you're exposing for the ambient light. So you got your aperture set, don't touch it. You're going to choose your shutter speed now. Choose a shutter speed that's going to give you the ambient light that you want. So maybe you want it really underexposed. Okay, you're going to use a faster shutter speed. Right? So let's just say you wanted your background, lots of depth of field, you want it blurred out. Okay, so you're at 1.8. Now you're going to set your shutter speed. Okay, it's a bright sunny day. And hey, you know what? I want this background to look really dark. Okay, I'm going to set my shutter to a speed that's going to give me what I want.
800th of a second.
I shoot with the Sony, so I don't have to take photos. I could just change the shutter, and then it's going to show me what it looks like on the screen. So So let's say I choose an 8,000th of a second. I go to the max. All right. So I'm at 1.8. I'm at 1/8,000th of a second. I'm at ISO 100. My background's nice and dark. That's exactly how I want the background. but I can't see my subject. My subject is total shadow. This is where you add the flash. Okay, so your first step is choose your aperture. Second step, choose your shutter speed. Third step, add your flash. Okay, so you're going to add your flash. You're going to choose what modifier you want. Do you want a large modifier, which is going to give you softer light? Do you want a small modifier, which is going to give you more harsh light? Choose your modifier, place your modifier where you want it. Okay, do you want it really close, right? Large modifier, real close is going to give you nice, soft light. Okay, when you see that real, just nice, soft light, that's a large modifier, really close. Okay, or do you want a little bit more harsh? Use a smaller modifier, bring the light further back. Whatever, you add your flash. You've added the flash. Now you're going to just adjust the flash power. As long as your ambient light stays the same, right? So as long as, a cloud doesn't cover the sun or whatever, as long as your ambient light stays the same, you don't touch your shutter, you don't touch your aperture, you're just going to adjust your flash power. What I like to do, and I got this from Zach Arias, he starts at a quarter power. He sets his flash and he just starts at a quarter power. You got to start somewhere. Right. So he'll put quarter power, take a shot, and then he'll look at the LCD and say, okay, I need to add more flash or I need to take down. And you adjust it from there. You're just adjusting the flash power from that point, okay? Because if you touch your aperture, it's going to change the ambient light. If you touch your shutter, it's also going to change the ambient light, right? And that's a misconception. People think, oh, aperture controls the flash power and shutter controls the ambient light, right? It's a little misconception. If you're in studio, that can be true. But when you're outdoors, aperture controls all light, right? Mm-hmm. Aperture controls all light. Whether it's ambient, whether it's your flash. You change your aperture, it's going to affect the flash exposure, it's going to affect the ambient exposure.
Right.
You change your shutter, if you're in high-speed sync, it's going to affect both as well. It gets real complicated. And this is why I don't really get into that, because it just gets complicated and you don't really need to know it. You don't really need to know it. So aperture, shutter, add the flash, adjust flash power. And that's it. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
But I don't like to overcomplicate things, right? You do things one at a time, right? So you're going to expose for your ambient light. You have two light sources, really. You have your natural light source, the sun, and then you have your strobe. I like to use the sun as a second light. Okay, sometimes I like to use the sun as a rim light. Like right now, you got a rim light on you, right? That rim light, I'll use the sun as that. So I don't have to use two lights. I can just use one light and I still have like a two light setup.
Yeah, that's a great tool.
So using flash, you kind of still have to go by the sun schedule. You still have to, but at least with
more flexibility.
You're more flexible. At least you can control your key light. So you put me in any lighting situation, I'll create a shot out of it. Might not be an award-winning shot, but I'll create a usable shot.
But you'll get that client to say you're the best photographer ever.
Yeah, right? That's all I need. Then they go tell their friends that I'm the best, and then I get their whole network saying I'm the best. And that's the thing with wedding photography. I know, like, segueing into wedding photography.
Sure.
That is kind of how I got it big into wedding photography. It's the word of mouth, right?
Absolutely.
You shoot one wedding, okay? So you got one wedding. Let's say I shoot your wedding, all right? You got your boys. Your fiance, wife, she got her girls. I'm with you guys the whole day. I'm not even a vendor. I'm part of the wedding party. Like, that's just my personality. I didn't do it for photography. I've been that way since I was a kid. So, and that was the benefit for me, because I didn't really know that my personality was going to, benefit
work so well in that. Yeah.
I just thought it was just strictly your work. But, you work with the bridal party. These guys love me. They always trying to get me drunk. I got a picture on my website. They're trying to get me drunk. Like,
I saw that.
And this is the groom too. It's like, bro, he's forcing it. Take this drink. And I'm like,
take the shot, man.
Tell me that now, but when you get these blurry photos. But like that's the way I'm, like, because they don't look at me as a vendor. They don't look at me as, a staff or anything like that, a worker. They look at me as family.
Right.
So many clients say, no, you're family. This is what they tell me. Right. So you shoot that wedding, the whole wedding party loves you. And guess what? Bridesmaid's getting married. Groomsman's getting married. So the first person you're going to call, oh, I got the best photographer. I've worked with him already. He's amazing. Right?
Yep.
Because they love the personality. It's the experience.
Yes,
right?
100%.
You can provide that experience as well as dope photos. You got to have the dope photos. Like that's a key. You got to have the dope photos. Definitely. But once you have the dope photos and then, you provide that experience, it's game over, right? So I shoot your wedding, your groomsman, best man, maid of honor, whatever, they're getting married. So now I shoot their wedding. But now remember, you got 300 people at your wedding. So now I'm exposed to 300 people of your network.
Yep.
Right? So now the way I'm providing that experience, the guests are seeing that too. So many times guests have hit me up like, hey, I was at this wedding, and I'm like, oh, I don't even remember you, right. But they remember me. So you got 300 people in your network. I'm exposed to that network. And, your network's like, yeah, I want to use you. Okay, now I shoot your best man. Your best man, he has his network. Your networks may overlap, but he has his network.
Yep.
Now I tap into his network and I do the same thing. And I get 300 of his people. Oh, this guy's amazing. And then his groomsmen or whatever, I guess that wedding that doesn't even know you, they hit me up.
It's the snowball, right?
It's a snowball.
It just picks up.
And it gets to a point where I can link my first wedding to a current wedding today. And I'm like, I can see the trail.
That's amazing.
The people within it, a lot of these people don't even know each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. But that's so true too, because I've talked to people about this because I do a lot of weddings too. That's predominantly what I shoot. And I think the best part about weddings that you don't necessarily get so much in a lot of other types of photography is that your clients become like your champions, right? Like they want to push you out to everybody because they wanted the best, right? And they got the best. They feel that they got the best, and they want their friends to have the best too. And the best is the person they hired. So they just keep throwing your name out there to every single person, that they know that's getting married. Oh my God, our photographer is great. You have to contact him. You got to set this up because he's going to make your photos amazing. He's going to be the best experience possible. And it just keeps spiraling out of control from there until the point, it just builds up, and then you have a business.
When you have an amazing experience, you want to share it with your friends, right? Mm-hmm. So you will share with your friends, hey, I worked with this photographer. He was amazing, right? When your friend says, okay, and then they book from your referral, that makes you feel amazing.
Right.
Right? And that's what people want. So now it's like, okay, if I do a great job for you, you're all happy. Now you want to go tell all your friends about me. And then when your friends book me, you feel happy. So what that means is you're going to try extra hard to convince your friends to book me so that you can feel good.
Right.
But really, I'm feeling good.
Yeah, it comes back to you, right? No, it's a great point. I mean, they feel good because they helped out their friend, and then you feel good because you got a payday, right? And you got a new client. You got it. I mean, it just keeps going from there.
And then when their friend is happy, they'd be like, "Yeah, who told you about him?
You're welcome."
Like,
right?
They want their credit.
yeah. That's funny, but it's so true. I mean, and that's actually, and I didn't realize that about weddings until I started shooting weddings. That word of mouth.
Hey, let me see your tat.
What do you want to see?
Oh, yo. No,
this is my photography sleeve.
Oh, yeah, let me see the photography one.
Let's see. I got my Polaroid.
Oh, wow.
my my roll of film.
Oh, you're invested.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. If I get in another career path, I'm out of luck. um, but but yeah,
I
I
like
mean,
it. That's dope, man.
thank you. Yeah, I never wanted to be a wedding photographer myself, but it like it dawned on me. I mean, I have a mentor who kind of pushed me into wedding photography a little bit, but it dawned on me very early on in it that it's extremely. I don't want to say it's extremely easy because it's a lot of work photographing a wedding. It's a lot of work building a wedding business, and it's a client focused business where you have to give a lot of time and energy to your clients. So it's not super easy, but as far as I tried doing the portrait thing. I tried doing the commercial thing. Those are a lot harder industries to break into to build that name for yourself. And
Yeah.
weddings aren't going anywhere. I mean, we learned that this past year in 2020 when, things were being shut down, but people were still they're still getting married, right?
Yeah.
Like that didn't go anywhere. So it was just a matter of how they were going to be getting married. And I think, I don't know how the saying goes, but there's some saying that's like, there's like, two things or there's like two career paths that will never go out, and it's wedding based and death based. So your funeral, people are always dying and people are always getting married. So
that's true.
You always have those people to fall back on itself.
Hold on, let me plug in my laptop before we.
Oh yeah, you're good. Like I said, I mean, since we're here, we dove into the wedding stuff. I'll just kind of get into some of those questions with you here too. Let's see. What do we got for you? Excuse me. But so I also noticed you're a destination wedding photographer. You've traveled to some pretty incredible places to take wedding photos. And I've talked to a few other destination photographers on this podcast, but I think destination photography or destination wedding photography is an interesting path because it's not exactly easy to get into or to claim that you're a destination photographer necessarily, because that implies that people are hiring you to travel to locations in order to photograph those weddings.
Yeah.
So I had a couple questions for you in regards to destination photography or destination wedding photography, because I think that's a very appealing wedding avenue for photographers, right? Because you get to travel the world, you get to see all these amazing places, you get to take these beautiful pictures, and everyone goes, "Wow, I can't believe you were in Paris and took pictures of this wedding," or whatever.
Yeah.
But let's say, someone listening to this may say, that's what I want to do. I want to do elopements and travel with couples, or I want to do destination weddings, but I don't know how to get started in that. I want to travel the globe and take these amazing photos, but it's hard to get into because, there's a lot, let's say you've photographed a couple weddings locally. It's hard to pitch to somebody that you can go over to Madrid and replicate what you're doing locally without the work to show for it. So, how did you get into it? And do you have any tips or ways that somebody could potentially build a destination wedding photography business without necessarily having those under their belt?
Well, I can only tell you how I did it. I don't really have any advice. I'll just tell you how I did it.
Sure.
So basically I was just a wedding photographer. That was it. Shooting weddings, putting out good work. And it could be a location thing because I'm in Toronto, we're Canadians, and destination weddings are big with Canadians. We go to Cuba, we go to Dominican Republic, we go to Jamaica. Those are like the three hot spots that Mexico too. So those are like the four hotspots that Canadians consistently travel to. Cuba is mega cheap for Canadians. So if you go to, and Americans can't go there.
Yeah,
you guys can
go there, right? Get many of those. What's that?
You guys can go there now, right? But
kind of indirectly.
Like our escape from Americans. We go to Cuba, it's like, no Americans. No.
That's true, though. I mean, it's still not as easy as it is probably from Canada to get to Cuba from here.
Yeah, I've been to Cuba, I think 4 times.
I've heard amazing things about Cuba. It sounds it's just an incredible place.
Crazy, right? So, like I said, Canadians, we just like to travel. We do the resort thing a lot. It's big in Canada, like resorts. I don't know how it is in Cleveland. If you guys go do all-inclusive resorts a lot.
I don't know that there's too many all-inclusives in the United States. I
No,
myself
I mean like you
traveling.
Americans traveling to like.
I see it with couples. I do see couples, like, because I'm in some Facebook groups with wedding couples,
Yeah.
and I see people who are looking for that. And I mean, obviously, I mean, it sounds like, I mean, you go someplace and everything's
I just mean
covered,
like people
But
just going for vacation. I just talk like just going for
yeah,
vacation.
I don't know. I don't know the like how common it is, but I definitely see it. I see it for sure.
In Canada, it's huge. Like everyone goes on, like you go to any of these all inclusives. You go to Dominican Republic, you go to Jamaica, filled with Canadians. Filled.
Interesting,
right? You see Blue Jays hats like everywhere, right? So just traveling down there is big already. So destination weddings, that became big too in Toronto. So a lot of people were like, yeah, I want to do the destination thing because we're in Canada. We don't have palm trees in Canada. We don't have tropical weather, okay? The furthest south of Canada is a town called Windsor, and it borders Detroit.
Right, yeah.
Detroit is the furthest south.
Pretty close to what we're dealing with here in Cleveland, too. And we don't have palm trees either.
If Canadians want to go south in Canada, you're going to Windsor. So we die for tropical weather. We die for the hot weather. So Canadians are always traveling to the Caribbean, right?
That makes sense.
So now with all that traveling comes destination weddings. So a lot of Canadians like to get married down there, do the destination weddings. So me just being a photographer, marketing myself as a wedding photographer, I'm getting a little more busy now. I did my first wedding October 2010. So now around May 2012 was my first destination wedding.
Okay.
So that's pretty much 2-3 years into it.
Yep.
First destination wedding. And it was a former schoolmate. She was getting married in Jamaica. So she's like, hey, you do weddings. I want you to shoot my wedding. We're getting married in Jamaica. I was like, ooh, like this was perfect.
Done deal.
Done deal. So did that. And now once you have those photos, other people see it.
Right.
And it just snowballs from there.
So you got to push your friends into getting married somewhere else.
Yeah. That's kind of how I got into it.
Yeah, right.
So I did one, and then another couple. This was like another friend of mine. He was getting married in Dominican Republic. Went down there, did that wedding. And then, these are friends, a lot of friends. Another friend of mine got married in Punta Cana at the Hard Rock. Had another client at the same Hard Rock. I was at the Hard Rock 2 weeks apart. Like I was there, I went home, came back, and like, like the workers.
You're like I should have just stayed and had a vacation.
The workers saw me the second time, and they'd be like, "Hey, what's up, man?" I'm like, "No, I'm back. I went home and came back. I need a better what's up than that." So, and then once you start getting more images in your portfolio, now I'm like, okay, especially with Instagram, now you hashtag it and you post it on Facebook, and now other people are seeing it. I tag people, again, I'm tagging the couple, I'm tagging the bridal
venues,
party, right? Because I'm getting all I'm getting all their stuff too. Like I'm like, let me get your Instagram. We take a selfie. Yo, what's your Instagram? Let me tag you. I take selfies with the guests. I take selfies with the bridal party and stuff. I shoot like a lot of big Italian weddings, you know what I mean? And grandma's giving me 2 kisses on the cheek and everything. Like so but yeah, like now I forgot what I was saying.
That's okay. But the point, I guess, being that, it only takes one and then we're back to that snowball.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. Right. So now I'm like, okay, I'm getting, you do the referrals thing, the same thing, the word of mouth thing. And now it's like, hey, you did my friend's wedding in, prime example, I did a wedding in Punta Cana back in 2014. And one of the guests that was there, total joker. Like he's like right up my alley. Me and him hit it off. I'm like, okay, you're an idiot, dude. Like you're a certified idiot. Like he was just right on my level. So we hit it off. And he was like, yo, man, I got his, contact, whatever. He hits me up a couple months later. Actually, no, a couple years later. He's like, yo, man, I'm getting married in Costa Rica. I want you to come, blah, blah, blah. And bro,
pans out.
So I did a destination wedding, and then I got a referral to another destination wedding. So that's how it is, right? So
that referral business is big time for you then,
big time. Out. And what also helped too was, working with planners. I worked with a few planners that do destination weddings. So one planner, again, one wedding that was in Punta Cana, there was a wedding planner. He does a lot of destination wedding planning. And he was like, hey man, he promoted me, and I got like articles on their website. So now couples looking for a destination wedding photographer through them, they refer me, so I get referrals through them too. So that's pretty much how it worked for me, at least. So basically I was just doing me, man. I was just shooting, putting out good work. And I got that one break. Someone says, hey, I'm getting married in Jamaica. Can you shoot my wedding? You do that. And then it just domino effect after that.
Yeah. And so, and what stuck out to me of what you said, and this hadn't even occurred to me yet, when I was framing this question for you, but you're like Canada itself, you're right. It doesn't have those destinations, like in the United States.
Yeah, you go to Miami, you can go to Cali, you got all the beaches. We
have the national parks out west. There's people who go out to the Carolinas and get married. Yeah. So
you got the city.
Right. And so actually my next question for you was going to be, so with you being in Canada and people having to travel, internationally to go to have these destination weddings, this may not necessarily play out how I thought it was going to, but I'm still going to ask anyways. But I've always found it interesting because, like I said, here in the U.S., there's places people go when they want specific looking things. So they go down to Florida, they go to, Lake Tahoe, they go out to I'm trying to think of like the big mountain ranges. I don't know, Grand Canyon, wherever they want to go to get these photos done. And what I always find interesting is how a photographer, say, in Cleveland here, could, and they do it, of course, but it's got to be a challenge, I think, to do this, market their services to somebody even locally who wants to get married there. Because I got to imagine there's somebody that's already in that area who could do it for cheaper than having to pay that photographer to come from Cleveland or Detroit or wherever to come photograph that wedding, right? So what I'm kind of hearing from you, and you can correct me here if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the experience that you provide at these weddings is why people are booking you to come out to those weddings again. If they're getting married at a destination, they're not necessarily booking you because they couldn't find somebody there to do it for cheaper. They're booking you because they want the Derrel Ho-Shing experience. Is that right?
Yeah. So especially with these resorts. So if you're going to go to Jamaica, if you're going to go to Mexico, you're going to go to Cuba, whatever. These resorts, they have resort photographers, but these guys are just dudes with cameras.
Right.
All right. I've seen these guys, like I'll never forget. And I tell all my destination couples this when I'm meeting with them. I'll never forget when I was in Jamaica, that first wedding I did in Jamaica. I remember I had my speed light and umbrella, and I was, just doing standard basic stuff. Mm-hmm. And the resort photographer was there, and he's watching me, and he was like, yo, what does the umbrella do? And I was just like, wow.
Really?
I was like, wow. So when I meet couples, I'm like, listen, these guys don't know. He's asking what the umbrella did.
That's funny.
Not to hate on, the local photographers there, sure, but they're job. They're working for the resort.
Right.
They're not being creative. You know what I mean? They're not giving you an experience. Mm-hmm. They don't even do the getting ready, from what I recall. They don't do the getting ready. They do the ceremony. They do a couple pose stuff, and then that's it. You get to choose 24 pics, and then you go home, get a little CD or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, but what they want, like, you have to remember, they're getting married down there. The main reason I'm going to say is for the photos.
Right.
Main reason.
Yeah. They want to show it off, like, hey, we went to Punta Cana for our
Sure,
wedding,
sure.
not our honeymoon.
Economically, it could be, better. It could be cheaper, whatever.
True.
But you're going for the photos. You're going for the photos, right? So if they're going for the photos, they're like, okay, if I'm coming all the way down here, my guests are flying all the way, I want some good photos.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to cheap out. After you get this far, now you don't want to just go cheap out on the resort photographer.
Right.
So, they see the work that I do, right? I bring my flashes, I bring, got my lenses. I got all these, gadgets and everything because I'm like, I want the illest photos, right? I'm just planning the illest photos, right? I'm being ultra creative. And on top of that, I'm providing an experience. Now, with destination weddings, if I'm there, sometimes I go for the whole week with them. Sometimes I'm there for the weekend. Mm-hmm. So now it's not just work, right? On a wedding day, you come there, okay, you're working. It's a hectic day. Mm-hmm. You got to do your job, right? You're working. You're having fun for sure, but you're on the clock. You're working.
Right.
Destination wedding, you're not working all the time. Yes, you're working in the sense that just you being there, you have to represent your brand at all times, right? So you're working, but you're not working in a sense of you're providing, photos and stuff like that. It's more relaxed. And a lot of times the couple, they don't want me to bring my camera. Mm-hmm. Leave your camera. Don't bring your camera. Just leave it. We're going to have fun. They want to have fun, right? So imagine you going on vacation with your boys. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're going to hire someone to come take photos of you, you don't want some lame dude that's going to be standing there all awkward and just, no, man, you want someone that, hey, you're going to be part of this group. Mm-hmm. Right? They want someone that's going to be part of this group. And this is what I highlight to them. When I'm meeting with them, this is what I'm showcasing. I'm not showing them my pictures. They don't want to see my pictures. I'm not talking about off-camera flash. They don't care about that. Right? They already know. They already seen the pictures. That's why they're meeting with me. They like the pictures. Now they want to see is, hey, is this guy a good fit? We're dating. It's a date.
Yes.
It's a date.
I've heard that before. I heard another photographer say you need to date your clients.
Yeah, it's a date. So they're trying to see, okay, I like the work. It's like Tinder. Okay, they went on Tinder. Ooh, he's cute. Yeah, she's cute. Yeah. Now I want to meet her.
Swipe right on your photos.
Yeah. So now they want to see, okay, because how many times have you like, hey, she was cute, but I met with her. Nah, I ain't going to work. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with photos. So they can love my photos, but they don't really like me. And especially if you're going to be spending a weekend, a week with me, like with all your family and friends, you know what I mean? Like on a wedding day, you see them, everyone's all happy, but like you go to destination weddings, sometimes you'll see the ups and downs. You'll see them when they're tired. You'll see them when they're happy. You see them, it's more of a social event because the majority of the time it's a social event, really.
Yeah.
You're only shooting that wedding for a small portion. Right. And destination weddings are not all day, remember.
That's true. Because, in a lot of cases with destination weddings, you have, the couple, their immediate family, maybe a couple of their friends. It's not typical. Well, and I could be wrong, but it's a lot harder to ask 150 people to travel to Punta Cana for your wedding than it is to say, hey, come down the street. We're getting married at this church,
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good point, too. And you got to be able to build those relationships with them, which actually is a perfect segue into my next question for you, which is, and I kind of framed it as like, I'm doing a little assuming, but you've definitely proven it to me in this, but your personality itself is contagious. It's infectious. I can tell. You remind me so much. I have a second shooter who shoots with me. His name is Ryan, and I think you and him will get along famously because I've shot a lot of weddings in the past like 5 years that I started shooting weddings, and I've never once been asked to go to the after party. And he, on his second wedding with me, went to the after party with the groom and the bride and all the couples, and I didn't get the invite.
Yeah. After parties, destination weddings. Oh yeah. I'm still in group chats with wedding parties from like 3 years ago. I'm still in group chats. Like
that's amazing. But
it's funny. Yes. Like I shot one wedding. It was in Mexico, and we had a big group chat. So they made a group chat while we're there, like a WhatsApp chat. So they're like, okay, we're meeting here, blah 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 blah. Okay. So we come home, and it's funny. I see they remove like all the vendors except me. So like the video guy, they deleted him. The florist, the not the florist, the planner, they deleted her, but they kept me in. And so I was like, yeah.
You're like, yeah,
but yeah,
man.
like there's actually a few group chats I'm still in from like 3-4 years ago, and it's just because they look at me as family. They don't look at me as like, you know.
Right. And that's a unique relationship that you're developing with them. Because like you said, I mean, the other vendors got the boot, but you're still in there, right? So
Yeah.
has your personality like always been outgoing in this way? And did that, when you got into photography, did you see that as a way that you could build an experience for your clients? Because I think, a lot of creatives, and so maybe not a lot, but I think there's a good amount of creatives who are kind of introverted. They use they use photography as a way to express their emotions or their
Yeah.
style and stuff. And so when it comes to that social aspect of working with a client and building a relationship with a stranger who you may be meeting for the first time and trying to sell yourself to them, I think a lot of people kind of struggle with that. And this seems
Mhm.
like something that comes naturally to you, but do I'm sure you've coached a lot of photographers because I know you do one-on-ones and you do your education and stuff, but how do how would you coach somebody in that capacity where, to come out of their shell a little bit more and start to build these relationships so that, their experience is now no longer just the photographs, it's actually the experience of working with that photographer?
Um, it's hard because if that's not your personality, it's just not your personality. I
Mm,
can't force you to be someone you're not.
true.
You know, I could just show what I do. Maybe lead by example. You can encourage, but I'm like, if that's not you, because I know my personality is wild and crazy, and stuff that I would do, majority of people probably wouldn't do it. So, um, but if I see you have a similar personality to me, then I'll just tell you, hey, do it like this, do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give them, some pointers. I'm like, hey, this is what I did. Try this. Like if I see, your personality is like that, right? But if I know, like, I'm not going to suggest that to
Right.
that person because I know that's just not you, and it's just going to be mad awkward if you try it, and it's not going to work. So it's not you. But other people, like even for you, I would give you, the same. I'm like, okay, do it like that because I can see your personality, right? You're not like some stiff. You're not like some, whatever.
Sure. I
You don't
think
appear like one.
no, I like to think of myself as outgoing. Yeah, I'm a friendly guy, but you're right. I mean, I think when it comes to being an introverted person, like you're not going to just become an extroverted person and just be able to go out there and then do like funny things in front of the camera to get people to laugh, or you're not going to be able to just come up with jokes on the spot.
Here's my advice. This is my advice. Whatever your strengths are, excel at your strengths. So find out what you're good at and then just focus on that.
That's a great
focus on that. So I know, hey, I'm good at my personality. I'm good at making people laugh. Just gonna focus on that. I'm not going to try to be like this savvy business guy. I'm not going to try to be like a Gary Vee. I'm not going to be, I'm not a Tony Robbins or a Jasmine Star. That's just not me.
Yep.
Right. Some people will try to be like that. And I'm like, that's not me. I'm not going to give no motivational speech.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm just going to be me, but it may be motivational, but I'm not trying to be motivational. You know what I mean? Like I'm just being me. So find your strengths, whatever your strengths are, excel at those. So if you have 3 good qualities, you say, hey, these are my 3 favorite qualities about me. These are the 3 things people love about me. Push that.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it too, because you may be that introverted person, but maybe you have your creative eye is unmatched. You see things in a different way that other people don't see it. So maybe you don't, your experience isn't so much that they're going to come to you and get they're not going to get the Derrel Ho-Shing experience working with you, but they might get photographs that they've never seen before, like these unique, that's where the experience lies,
And here's another tip. And I learned this through experience is if you're introverted or whatever, this is what you want to do. Share share your life, like share your interests. Okay. Are you into comics? Are you into wrestling? Are you into hip hop? Are you into cars? You know, what kind of car do you drive? Like, are you, you know what I mean? You know how you have like these niche areas, like these subgenres, and it's like you got cult followings of like these. If you're part of those, share those, right? Even if even has nothing to do with photography, share it. Okay. For example, like I'm a big hip hop fan. So I like 90s hip hop, right? I like New York 90s hip hop. That's what I grew up listening to, right?
Right.
So I'll share that, you know, on social media. I'll share it on my, you know, my stories, whatever. I'll share a lot of 90s hip hop things. People see that. And then people will be like, hey, I like that group too. And I was like, oh, okay. And then what happened, I met with a client. Actually, this was the last couple I met with before everything got locked down. I met with them like early March last year. We met at a restaurant and we just had like, it was like a 2-3 hour consult. Wow. Normally my consults are 45 minutes an hour. Yeah. This was like 3 hours because the bride, this is the bride. The bride says, oh, you shot Royce the 5'9". And I'm like, yeah, you know, Roy. Most women don't know, you know, Royce the 5'9".
Yeah,
like,
sure.
He's an underground, you know, hip hop, you know, legend, whatever. But like I was shocked. I was like, oh, you know? She's like, he's my favorite rapper. I was like, oh, really? Then we just started talking about hip hop because she saw that I posted that. And then
that connection.
That was a connection. And now when I'm meeting with them, we talked for about maybe 30 minutes about the wedding, and the rest was like literally about hip hop. It was just, and her fiance, he's just like, I don't listen to hip hop. He's like, I listen to reggae. I go, I listen to reggae too. I was like, who do you like? I go, yo. And then we start talking about reggae. And then now it's like, okay. And this was all just because I shared all this stuff on social media. If I didn't share it, she wouldn't know that I like hip hop and we wouldn't have that connection. And maybe she wouldn't have messaged me. Right. But things like that. Now it's like, okay, this guy does amazing photos and we have this in common. Right. Now it's like, okay. Right. So that helped. So I was like, okay. And it's happened a few other times with hip hop as well. So I'm like, okay, that's why I'm telling people, you share what you like, right? You know, some people, you know, I know a lot of people are into like cosplay and like comics and stuff like that. I'm not into that. Some people are into gaming, right? They're heavy gamers, right? You meet another gamer, oh, we share that and you have that connection. Has nothing to do with photography, nothing to do with weddings, but it's that connection. And now when you work with them, they're going to feel more connected with you because chances are their friends are into that as well. So now if you are into this kind of hip hop, chances are your friends are into that kind of hip hop. And now when I'm at the wedding, we're talking on hip, you know, they're probably playing, you know, songs on the playlist. And then I'm singing along and we're into the comment. And like, oh, you look, yeah, okay. And then you're the best photographer ever. Oh, you got to meet this guy, right? And I learned that early shooting a wedding, my first wedding. And I remember guests were coming up and saying, oh, he's doing a great job. And I'm just like, you haven't even seen the photos.
Yeah, you don't know.
You haven't seen the photos. How would you know I'm doing a great job? And that's when I realized it's not about the photos.
Yep.
Right? It was about the experience. So they saw the experience that I was providing. It made them feel good. You know, my good energy, their good energy, it all. So they feel good. And now you're doing an amazing job because I made them feel good. I didn't show them any photos. I didn't show them the pictures. They
it was the feeling.
It's the feeling. And then it's the feeling is what will get them attached to you. Right. So the photos, that's like, okay, your mind, hey, I like the photos, but like your heart likes me. You know what I mean? So you catch them with the emotion with that way.
And I think, interestingly, there's two things that you didn't touch on, but made me think of is, one, that connection that you form with them because of your willingness to share your interests. One, it gives them an element of trust in you, right? Because they identify, oh, this person's like me in that sense, right? Like we bond over that thing. That
so that
builds
we
up a
think the
level of
same
trust, right?
way. Yeah.
And then two, the feeling thing, I think that probably helps too. That maybe maybe even if the photos aren't top tier, they're not that. I use this analogy. I was speaking with another photographer on the podcast. I did one this morning with her. Her name's Kesha Lambert, and I use an
Kesha,
analogy.
what up, Kesh?
Yeah,
that's my girl, man.
Right. And but I used an analogy about the tiers of photography. There's people. I use like a restaurant analogy, right? There's people who do the low price photography. They do high volume. That's your fast food photography. You got the middle ground, which may be a trendy restaurant, and then you got the Michelin star. So maybe you're not creating Michelin star work, but you're providing that experience to them that they're going to think the photos are amazing just because you've made that connection. You're bonded on that level, right? Like there's a little bit of a balance there between the two that you can justify. Like, hey, you're going to have this great experience with me. They're saying great job because you made them feel great. So they're going to look at those photos and think, oh, I look great in those. Like not only did I feel good during that, but now I'm looking at them like I can tell that I felt good in it.
That's what I was, and this is what I tell clients too. I say, you can Photoshop anything. I said, I can Photoshop anything, right? You got a zit on your face? Photoshop that. Hey, there's a garbage can in the background? I can Photoshop that. Hey, you don't want that guy in the background? I can Photoshop that. Mm-hmm. Hey, my arm's a little too fat. Yeah, I can Photoshop that, okay? You know what I can't Photoshop? A bad expression.
Right.
Right? And I know Photoshop got this new filter. You can do the fake little smile. It ain't the same.
No.
Can't really Photoshop a bad expression, right? So this is what I tell clients. I'm like, you need to work with a photographer that you like and you get along with and you vibe with, right? Mm-hmm. Because if the photographer takes amazing photos, but you don't like him or her, or you don't get along with him or her, it's going to show in the photos, right? Mm-hmm. So, and you can have the greatest technical photographer, like, dope photos, but horrible personality, and you don't feel comfortable in front of that person when they take the photo versus the person who's maybe not as good, but you have that connection. Your expressions are going to be better with that photographer. So while this photographer, technically, it might be a better photo, but it's the expression that makes the photo good, especially for weddings. It's all about the expression. So a bad expression can kill a photo. You can have the best lighting, best scenery ever, anything. And this is why I think our clients share the worst photos. Like we'll give them like, this is like the best photo. Like, look at the lighting. Like, look at the colors. Like, look what I did. Like, this is an amazing photo. And then they're going to I'm like, you made that your profile pic? Yeah. Like that was just like, you made that one your profile pic? Mm-hmm. Right? Like
it never fails.
Yeah. That was just like some throwaway shot. That was like a filler. Like that wasn't anything.
Yeah, that wasn't on my favorite list, right?
Right? Yeah. But they made that their profile pic. Why? Because they're looking at their face. They're looking at their face.
Yeah. The emotion of it, when I shot how they felt in that moment.
When I shot Royce the 5'9", he used one of my photos for one of his album covers called Layers. When I saw the cover, I'm looking at the photo. I'm like, number one, I had way better shots than that. Way better. And number two, I'm like, wasn't that a test shot?
Was it really? That's amazing.
I'm like, that was a test shot. Because I know the way I framed it, I'm like, I didn't frame it the way I normally did. Like, I could tell, I know my test shots. Mm-hmm. So when I look, I'm like, he used the test shot and made the album cover. Actually, I'm going to show you right now.
You're like, Royce, what the hell, man? Come on.
I was like, wow.
I got to imagine it still looked great if he was going to use it.
Oh, yeah.
But
because it's the thing. He had a vision.
Right.
So he got his album. He had a vision. So with his vision, he's like, that photo fits my vision. My vision was, I'm trying to kill the game. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm trying to put the dopest photos out. I'm trying to tear down Instagram.
Right. Yeah. You're going to ball out as a photographer. Yeah. Pull out 5 lights this time.
Yeah. But yeah, if you pull up the Layers, Royce, I'll show you. I don't know how I can Okay, it's going to show up
Let's
here,
see
but
here. I Googled it real quick, which people listening won't see. That's a rad photo though. And the manipulation too is really cool too.
I don't know if
Um,
you can.
yeah,
Is it?
there it
Let me
is.
move my
That's
head.
better in focus.
There
There
we
it
go.
is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so
See,
fun.
because the Sony's so it sees my face and it knows my face and it's focusing on my face. So I had to
That,
hide my face so it can
that
focus
eye
on
autofocus is
that
getting
eye
you.
autofocus, man. Shout out
It's
to
too
Sony.
sharp. Too sharp.
This is
Yeah,
not an ad, but
I'm a Sony shooter too, so I get it. It's so funny.
yeah.
I mean, actually, I think like my last probably like 5 episodes I've been with Sony shooters. And I'm like, man, I got to get somebody else in here. It seems like everybody's shooting Sony nowadays. But man, this has been hugely insightful, and we derailed from some of my questions, which I'm totally okay with because it's been this has been purely, authentically Derrel Ho-Shing advice, and and that's what I wanted to get out of this, and so I wanted to say thank you again because it's been hugely informative and just like some in another episode, I forget who it was. It might have actually been Joe Edelman or maybe or no. I think it was. Well, I don't remember who it was. Somebody in the past episode said dropping knowledge bombs, and that's 100% what this whole episode has been. So
It's funny. I don't even look at it as knowledge, man. I guess because like to me, it's just normal. It's just
yeah, it's second nature, right?
second nature, right? But like other people, like whoa, like people will tell me like, "Yo, man, you said this one thing that really," and I was like, "I said that." I was like, I mean, it sounds like something I'd say. I'm like, I don't even remember saying that, but
yeah, but that's it. I mean, I think when you get to that point where you're doing this every day and you're educating too, that it just starts to sound repetitive. It sounds like it should just become knowledge almost. But then when as to somebody who's, I've heard you speak once, I've seen your videos, but it still comes off, it's still new information, right? And so I
yeah,
think a lot of people listening, especially those who are still in the hobby stage and they're still trying to feel out their style, they're still trying to find their avenue in photography, that this is super helpful to them. So thank you for being candid and just, because the old style photography, you mentioned something about this too. I think when you were kind of going back to
no
your
BTS
roots, right?
photos.
Well, yeah, that wasn't shared, right? There were trade secrets that people didn't talk about, and it's
Yeah.
not so much that anymore, which is great because I think it actually opens up the realm of photography to just make people better photographers, right? I mean,
Yep.
that old school style of thinking inhibited a lot, right? You had to learn the trade. You had to it was very secretive in terms of, how lighting worked and people didn't want you taking their clients and stuff. And I
Well,
mean,
it was also too like YouTube, like YouTubers weren't a big thing, right?
mhm.
So just you go on YouTube for okay, you go watch a couple things, but like it's not what it is today. Like you literally can go on any topic, you can find it on YouTube. It wasn't like that 10, 11
No.
years ago, right? And actually, I mentioned Zach Arias, but another person, how can I forget? Chase Jarvis. Like
Yeah.
Chase Jarvis was a huge influence on me. F Stoppers too.
Mhm.
That was F Stoppers kind of like that was what inspired me to do BTS, do my BTS videos. After watching F Stoppers, I was like, man, I could do this. I could do this.
Yep.
I,
And
I, I could do this. Like,
and I'm going to get to this question here in a second too, but one of our guests actually suggested a book to us, and it was Chase Jarvis's Creative Calling. And I read that book and I was like, where was this 5 years ago? Like I needed this book 5 years
yeah,
ago.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? It was a little too late, but well, it was still valuable, of course. It's still valuable. I'm like, man, I wish I had that 5 years ago because that would have helped me out
Yeah.
so much more. But no, it's great. The candidness, the expression of the arts, and just sharing of information is great. And I think ultimately, what people back then didn't get is that it actually helps elevate the business, right? Like by making other photographers better, people view that as making your competition better, but the way I kind of see it is you're making the industry better, right?
For sure.
You're
Sure.
justifying why these rates are what they are and what your prices are through that because by making people better, it only makes you better too. And so I appreciate again the candidness from you and everything. But I think that's probably enough about the business stuff. We spent a good hour on that. So why don't we dive into some more fun questions? These ones are a little more lighthearted, and a couple of these we ask all our guests. So I'm interested to hear what your viewpoint is on them. So, getting back into these questions, this part a little bit shorter, but nonetheless equally as important to get to know you a little bit better. So, as a destination wedding photographer, I know you've been to some cool places. We talked about them, but are there any destinations that you have on your like destination bucket list, like places you want to go that you would love to photograph at, whether that's a wedding or portraits or literally anything?
How much time you got?
Let's start the list.
Okay, so actually, this is another thing I want to mention before I get into that, which is kind of related.
Okay.
So traveling. Okay, so back in 2010. So a friend of mine, shout out to Patrick Lino. You can check out his YouTube. He does cycling. There's a lot of cycling videos. So if you're into cycling, check out Patrick Lino. But my boy Patrick, he's from Chicago, and I got him into photography. So I got him in photography 2010. So a year after I got into it, then I got him into it, and so I was like literally teaching him. So I'm still learning myself. So I'm very passionate, but now he's just starting, and he's like ultra passionate at this point. So now his passion, elevates my passion. Right. So now we're both passionate. So I'd come to Chicago, we'd set up shoots, and we'd do shoots. And then he'd come to Toronto, set up shoots, same thing. So then what we were like, man, okay, so we wanted just the illest photos, right? So I was like, we got to change the landscape, man. We got to go travel somewhere and add some different sceneries in our shots. So we're like, let's do New York. I got friends in New York, and I got a lot of friends, family in New York. So go to New York, and we had set up we had 9 photo shoots that weekend.
Wow.
Because like I said, I was doing like the hip hop thing. So I have a lot of like hip hop, dudes in New York, Brooklyn stuff. So hit them up, say, you guys want to do a shoot? Cool, do a shoot with them. I had a couple, they were married and they didn't like their wedding photos. So I said, put on your dress. Let's go take some photos. Did that. Did some portrait sessions. Like, it was just crazy.
Wow.
We did that because we just wanted different scenes in our shots. Like, I'm a Toronto photographer, right? So now when people in Toronto look and see, he got some New York stuff. Okay, this guy's big time. That
right? That's true.
That's the perception, right?
Yeah.
So we did Orlando. We went to Orlando. We set up like 3 shoots in Orlando. We did a BTS video. That video is classic. Like, I don't have it on my YouTube. I actually have it on my Vimeo because copyrighted music and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about that back then. This was 2011. I didn't know anything about that. I'll just throw on music because I want to be cool. I wasn't trying to get paid or anything. I didn't know anything about that. But yeah, we did a crazy video, amazing shoots. We got shots on the beach. It was just crazy. And that was because we wanted different scenery. 2012, we went to Italy. Me and Patrick, we went to Italy, and we did three or 4 shoots in Italy. Went on Model Mayhem, found some models from Italy, set up shoots, got some shots by the Colosseum. We got like classic Italian, landscape, and we joke. We're like, man, we got people here doing Italian themed photo shoots. Man, we're going to Italy. Y'all are doing Italian themed, and we're in Italy. You know what I mean? So that was cool to get like those shots. And now you come back as a Toronto photographer. He goes back home as a Chicago photographer, and people look at your portfolio and they're like, oh wow, New York. Okay, you got beach, palm trees, Italy. Oh, okay, this guy. And then you add the destination stuff, and they're like, okay, this guy's a traveling photographer. So to answer your question about destination weddings, maybe that's a way.
Right.
If you're traveling, say you're traveling, you're going to Italy, you're going wherever. we got Facebook groups. Like I'm at the point now, like I think any city, any country I go to, I could probably go on one of the Facebook groups. Hey, anyone from here? I'm coming. And somebody will be like, yeah, I've done it before. I've gone into like Facebook groups. Yo, I'm coming to Orlando. Anyone got a light stand I can borrow? Mad comments. Like, oh, I love your videos. Yeah, I got a light stand. I'm like, all right, cool.
Here's 10.
Yeah, right. So,
that's a great point.
You're asking where I'd want to go.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I want to. Like I've done Caribbean. I'm good with Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
South America.
That would be cool.
It's similar to Caribbean. Similar.
I can see that.
You know, I've done Cuba, so it's whatever.
Right.
I would love to do. I'd love to do more Europe.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to do. Just looking at even like Maldives, like those islands. I love to go to like Dubai.
Dubai
I want to go to
crazy.
like. I want to go to like Ghana. I want to go to South Africa. I want to go all over Africa, man. I want to do like a whole African theme shoot. Let's go to every.
That'd be amazing.
If money wasn't an issue, I'd just do like a world.
Right?
I'd do a world tour. I'd do BTS of just the craziest locations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that stuff excites me too, because and that's a great point. Like you said, use your vacations as an excuse to take photos, right?
Yeah, there you go.
And
man.
I did I just got back this past Saturday from Turks and Caicos, and while I was there, I went with my family. I met my family down there. My dad retired this year. My sister graduated college, and so it was like a family celebration, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, I can't be down here and not take photos, right? Like I can't come down here. So I did a couples session with my sister and her boyfriend, and made it look like an engagement session, right? They're not engaged, but I used what I had available to me there to be able to do that. And I've done that in the past too. I've been to LA, reached out, Instagram's a great resource for people who are like, I don't know, how am I going to connect with people out in these places? I've never been there before. I don't have family. I don't have friends there. Instagram.
Hashtags.
Los Angeles models. Go there, and you're going to find 100 models in 10 minutes. It's super. It sounds more difficult than it is, I think, because it actually is pretty simple. I went to San Diego with a group of people I'd met through Instagram, right? And while we were there, we decided to have a photo meetup, and we just put it out on social media, and we had 35 people we'd never met show up to a photo meetup in San Diego, and none of us are from there, So that's a great tip there to,
You can also network, like I said, network with other photographers, right? So let's say you're going to Italy. All right. I got Italian photographers following me. I got mad Indian photographers following me. I got mad African photographers following me, right? So network with these ones, man, because you have to remember especially if people are in like other parts of the world, like the fact that, you have an American, like even though I'm Canadian, but they look at it the same. Canada, America, it's all the same to them, right? North American, right? Yeah. Okay, I got this North American photographer coming. Like they might be in a small countries, right? So the fact that you're hitting them up, hey man, I'm coming, we want that's big to them. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And bro, I get so many photographers, like, third world countries, and like, dude, they want me to come out and teach them. I'm like, it's not really the easiest thing to do. Like one guy wanted me to come to, where was it? I think it was South Africa, or no, it was maybe like Kenya or Tanzania or something like that. He wanted me to come out there and do like a workshop. He goes, yeah, I got lots of photographers that would, and I was like, that sounds great, but how is this going to work? But because these guys are like, they don't really have cash and stuff like that. So
not to what you would in this area, right? Like for what you'd be I don't know what you charge for a workshop, but I'm assuming it's several $100s, and that's not easily to come by.
If I was going there on vacation already,
sure,
then I'll be like, yeah, let's link up, and sure, I wouldn't charge him or anything like that. I'd say, yeah, I'll come here, we can do a little photo, whatever, right? That's different, but like it's kind of different when they want, hey, can you come? That's a different story. If I'm already there, if I'm already going, sure, I'll go link up with them, man. Like it ain't about making money at that point. It's all about just networking, man. Like, and because I know that my work and my stuff like inspires a lot of people. And sometimes I don't really fully understand how much it does, because one guy hit me up and he was just like, hey man, where have you been on YouTube? Like that everyone hits me up. Well, where are you on YouTube? Like you haven't posted in a while and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I'm busy. Life, people don't understand. Like maybe other YouTubers, like, they may have more time to do the YouTube. I got other stuff I'm doing. Like I don't have that time. I have a family. Right. I have other, gigs I got to do and stuff like that, clients and whatnot. But he hit me up and he was just like, I said, yeah, just been busy, blah, blah, blah. He's like, man, we need you, man. There's like a whole community depending on you. This is what he said. I was like, whoa. I was like, whoa. I guess like in his village or whatever, he's like, there's like a whole community depending. He said, depending on you.
Wow.
I was like, wow. I didn't know what to say. I was like, yeah, I'll do a video tonight.
Check YouTube tomorrow morning. I don't know. But it is crazy how that works, man. You build up this audience of people, and you really don't know. And I laughed about it because I was watching videos earlier, trying to pick some things out that I could ask you about, and you were shouting out your Indian followers on there. You're like, all those people out in India, I hear you, I see you, and so maybe that's where you got to go, man.
They still comment. They're like, hi, I'm from India.
But that's awesome. That's really cool to hear. So next fun question I got for you here. And this is kind of a variation of a question I ask a lot of people. And we've been asking guests on the podcast this for a long time, since we started having guests on, but this is a new variation on it. So let's say, something happens and you got to go about restarting your business. Now, I don't know what that is, but for the sake of the question, you're restarting your business. And you're starting that business with $1,500. And so this is, I'm thinking of this as from a person listening to this, right? They may be doing photography as a hobby. They're not in this making a ton of money of it yet, but they can justify spending $1,500 to start launching a business and try to give this a real shot. How would you use that money? And let's assume you've already got a camera and a lens, so that's not factored into this. You got your kit that you're going to work with, but what would you use that $1,500 for in order to launch your business?
And what genre I'm doing, what avenue,
Let's start with just your current business. So your wedding business, how are you going to use that for that?
Weddings. So I have a camera and a lens. What lens? Like what?
Let's see. I don't know. Let's say nifty 50, because I think a lot of people go to that as an entry level lens. So you got your standard body, whatever, Canon, Nikon, Sony, your middle of the road body, you got a nifty 50 and $1,500 in your pocket. How are you getting to that next step? Could be marketing.
I have to restart over my business. So I have all the knowledge that I have now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So this is you. Okay. This is your advice. You got $1,500. How are you going to use
This is me in 2021 with all the knowledge that I have. Derrel Ho-Shing Photography is done, and I started a new one.
Yep.
Okay. See, that's different.
Right. So I'm thinking of it. So you're using your knowledge, but we're going back in time to before Derrel Ho-Shing Photography is where it is now. You got your knowledge. How are you going to use that to elevate your business?
$1,500.
Whether that's marketing, whether that's products, whether that's lighting equipment. I mean, literally, it's open, but just how you would break it down to help get you back to where you are now, or at least get you down the road to get to there.
I wouldn't spend it. I have a camera and a lens. I can make more money with a nifty 50 and a camera. I can make money. I can make money. I can do a couple portrait sessions, natural light. I can make money.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
You got maternity shoots. I don't have to use light. See, this is the thing. A lot of people talk to me and, they're like, I look at their portfolio and they're like, everything is flash. Like they use flash for everything. And I tell them, I'm like, okay, you don't have to use flash for everything, right? I like flash because this is what I'm good at. So this is, like I said, find out what you're good at and then you push it. I'm good at flash. I'm good at teaching it. So I'm going to push that, right? So I have a camera. I have a lens. I can make money. I can make money with that. So then there's nothing that I would need for 1,500. Maybe I'll buy a flash, but at that point I'm like, nah, I'll just wait. I'll wait. I could do a maternity session. I could do an engagement session. I can do portrait session, right? I don't need flash, right? I use flash as, see, this is the first thing I think of is the art.
Yep.
That's the first thing, the art. Now I have a vision, right? This is my vision. Okay. Now, what are the tools I need to execute this vision?
You got them,
right?
Yeah.
I have them. Okay. Okay, I might need a flash. Okay, cool. You might need a flash. I could buy a speed light for $100, $200.
Right.
Okay, buy a trigger, whatever. Boom, I got an off-camera flash. I could buy an umbrella for $30. Right? So if I wanted to go spend that money, okay, I could spend $200, $300, get a flash, get a umbrella, light stand, triggers, $300. I could do it for it.
Sure.
And from there, I don't even have to spend the rest. With that, I can make more money. And then now once I have, once that money accumulates, now I can purchase something worthwhile as opposed to just using $1,500 and just spending it just because. It's like, nah.
So, okay. So advice to somebody just starting their business that they're like, hey, I got a little money. I want to put it into something. You say, just roll with what you got and be the best at what you can do with that.
It depends what they're doing. So if they're, like I said, if they're doing the same thing as me, if they want to get into weddings and you haven't shot a wedding before and you just have a camera and a lens, I'm going to say, shoot portraits. Grab a couple, grab some of your friends. Okay. Grab a friend that are married already. Hey, let's just do some photos. Okay. Most couples are going to say yes.
Sure.
Okay. So you get them, hey, dress up, get your makeup done, get a haircut, do whatever. Do a portrait session. Grab some other friends, do some other friends, and you keep doing that. And now you have all these engagement style photos. You can even, okay, you're married. Do you still have your dress? You can still fit in it? You got to ask that. No, don't ask that. Don't ask that. Definitely don't ask that. Ask if you still have your dress. Would you like to take photos in your dress? Then she'll let you know. If yes, boom. You do like a styled shoot. Right? Style shoots are easy because it's like you control everything.
Right.
Hey, you look good. I want to shoot you. Hey, you look good. Or you guys are a couple. Hey, let's get this dress. Let's do, boom. Let's go here. Let's go at this time because now you have control. On a wedding day, you don't always have control. Let's go here. Now the sun is setting at this location. On a wedding day, I can't get this shot because we're over at this banquet hall and I don't have that view at the banquet hall. Right? So now with, you're doing a styled shoot. All right, now you can set up your shot exactly how you want it. All right. I want to use 3 lights. I can't use 3 lights on a wedding day, but I can use it now. You can do whatever you want.
Sure.
Do that. And you just keep doing that. And then what's going to happen is, and you tag them. It's networking. You tag each person, their friends see it more. And then eventually people are going to come to you and say, hey, how much do you charge?
We're back at that snowball effect, right? And I can just tell from the way you explain it, you're super big on the word of mouth thing. I think the word of mouth thing seems like, I know photographers, and so I'm maybe assuming here, but I know photographers who don't use money towards ads or towards promotional things, and they just rely on that word of mouth thing. And it kind of sounds like to me, you're real big on that. And I think that helps because you're building those relationships and that's just rolling out, right?
Yep.
They're going to, again, back to that, they're your champions, right? They're going to go out and promote you for you. You don't have to.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. I mean, that is a huge thing. If you can build that into your business as somebody who's listening to this, if you can get that, that is going to carry you a long ways. So Derrel's right in that. It's a great tip. So here we got a lightning round. So these are quick questions. Shouldn't be too much to think about. So I'm going to just roll through these real quick. You just throw me whatever comes to mind here.
All right.
Cool. All right. Mac or PC?
Mac.
Sweet. Zooms or primes?
Prime. I was Zoom before.
Okay.
When I was with Canon. Canon, I was just pure Zooms. I had, what did I have? I had the 24-70 version 2. Sharp. Oh my gosh. That kind of hurt. The lens is leaving Canon. The lens is hurt.
Right.
70 to 200.
Yep.
That's really all I used. I had 100 macro. I like that. But yeah, I was a zoom. I liked primes, but like I like the comfort of 24 to 200 for a wedding.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty much it.
That's been my standard go-to too. I just picked up I picked up a 35 last year and a 135 this year. I'm going to be messing with those, but 24 to 200 range has you covered when it comes to the wedding.
Switching to Sony, I had to get rid of. I kept my 70 to 200. I had the MC 11 adapter, but it wasn't really. And the lens was so big, and I was like, the whole point of getting a small compact, and it just didn't make sense. So I sold the 70 to 200. That hurt. Then now with Sony, now I'm all primes, man. I have, here's another thing. People think, okay, I'm a YouTuber. I talk all this stuff. They think I have all this gear. I don't have a lot of gear. I have my 28. I'm using the 28 right now to film. My 28 f2. Okay. I have my 85 1.8. And I have a Sigma 135 art lens 1.8. That's it. That's what I'm shooting my weddings with now. Right? Shooting my I'm shooting everything with that. If you see me using another lens, I'm borrowing it. I borrowed my friend's 105. Did a little side by side. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't have a lot of lenses.
That's your latest video, right? That was the 105 versus 135?
Yeah.
And that was my debate. I borrowed Pixel Connection, who sponsors this podcast, let me rent the 105 when I was in Turks and Caicos, and I shot my whole couple session there with that. And but I was like, I've shot with the 135, and I was like, I got to get one of those. That's my next step because
the 135 it's nasty, man.
Yeah. Well, and I don't remember whose video I was watching. I don't think it was yours, but somebody made a comment about, because I was also looking at the 85, which I know you're a fan of because I've seen that in your videos. But somebody also said, they're like, if you get the 105, there's no real reason that you need an 85 because those are pretty close to the same focal length.
That was another. My friend was debating that, and I was like, yeah, it's so close, right? It's so close that you're not really going to see much of a difference. And if you're debating between the 85 and 105, it really all depends on what you have.
Right.
Me, I have the 135 and the 85. The 105 is like literally in between.
It's that awkward space between that. It's
that awkward space in between. And I will keep my one. I love the 105 because I love that 1.4. And I love, because it's 105, it's a shorter focal length than the 135. You got to get closer, and getting closer, you're going to get more background blur, especially at 1.4, you're going to get more background blur. So I do love the bokeh in the 105. But for weddings, I need that 135 for that reach.
Distance.
Need that reach. And I have a video entitled like Your Clients Can't Tell the Difference. And they can't tell it.
That's very true.
And like, we photographers, we obsess over gear so much. And I'm like, they can't tell the difference. And I look at it this way. Let's say you were a hardwood, you do the hardwood floors. Okay. You have your floor sander, you have your machine, all that stuff. And then they come out with a new machine. Are you going to rush to go get that new machine and sell your old machine? Or your old tool, or whatever the tool. I don't know floor sanding. I looked at my floor. That's why I thought of it, because I just looked at my floor. I don't know anything about floor sanding. But would you do that? And then each time a new equipment comes out, most people wouldn't do that.
Right.
Because it's like, are your clients going to really tell the difference? Right? Some clients may, but like if I'm shooting weddings, I'm shooting portraits, like me using the 85 versus the 105, they're not going to tell the difference.
Right.
Man. We can tell the difference, but like the people that are paying you, and that's what I focus on. I'm like, okay, if the people that are paying me, so you paid me this money, now I'm going to go take that money and buy some more equipment, and then I'm going to take some more photos. And if they can't tell the difference, then why am I buying this new equipment if they can't tell the difference?
That's a great point. I think there's a lot of equipment
in
heads
that video.
That.
In that video, I mentioned like when I buy equipment, I'm looking at, okay, is it going to make my photos better?
Right.
Okay. Are my clients going to be able to tell the difference? Okay. Sometimes they won't, but the benefit is it's going to improve my workflow.
Mm-hmm.
Will this make me more efficient? Right. So if I'm more efficient, it's going to help me to, focus better. Like I got in debates about the eye autofocus with Sony. People are like, "Oh, you got the Sony. Well, does it make your photos better?" And I was like, "Kinda, yeah, it does. The eye autofocus does make my photos better because when I'm with Canon, you focus, recompose, and especially when you're at like 1.4 and to focus, recompose, to get that eye in focus, sometimes you know how hard that is, right?
Yeah. I came from Nikon.
And sometimes I'm putting so much energy. Okay, let me focus and let me get that eye in focus right there. Let me move right there. So much energy is into that when I could be using that energy to communicate with the model. Eye autofocus, boom, I don't even have to think about it. Don't have to think about it. Now I can focus on the model. I can communicate with the model. Now the model's getting those expressions that I want because I don't have to focus on worrying about if it's in focus. I know it's in focus. I just have to press it. It's in focus. Don't even have to look. Yeah. I know it's in focus.
It's guaranteed. Yeah, very true. Very true. I'm going to jump back into this lightning round.
Yeah.
We derailed, but still great information. Yeah. But okay, so next question. I think I know the answer to this one. Natural light, off-camera flash, or constant lights if you had to pick one?
Again, it depends on what I'm shooting. It depends, right? So, and this is what I tell people. This is art number one, right? If I'm shooting, I can have an elderly woman. She wants a portrait. She might have lots of wrinkles and whatever. Okay. Then I might not want to use off-camera flash. I might just use natural light. I might, wide aperture, blur, get all that blur. So who knows? I might do that. She might not suit the off-camera look. The location that she's in, I'm like, okay, we got lots of beautiful natural light. I'm not going to go ruin it with off-camera flash. On the flip side, I'll shoot like a big muscular fitness model, jacked, right? Just biceps on top of biceps, like abs on top of abs, and just jacked, right? Now, in this sense, I'm like, I'm definitely using flash. Like I'm not going to waste this with natural. I'm using flash.
Yeah, you gotta get that contrast.
Got to get that contrast, and I'm using 2 or 3 lights minimum. Right? You got at least 2 lights. I might even do 3 lights. So to ask me if I'm just going to use natural or flash, I can't say. I can't say
because it's circumstantial. I get it. Tough choice.
Look at it this way. Would you rather a 2-door sports car or a minivan? Depends what you're doing.
Yeah. If I'm carting my wedding equipment, I need that van.
Are you moving? Are you helping someone move? That 2-door car is not the best option.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Are you trying to impress a girl? That minivan might not be the best option.
Yeah. So very true.
You can't say which car is better. It depends on what you're doing. So ask me natural light or flash. Depends.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Totally fair. Maybe the same with this one too. But
hold on. Wait. You said you thought you knew the answer. So what did you think?
I thought you were going to say off-camera flash because you knew it. Because, well, I mean, like you said, like all your videos do. I mean, you're very good with it, and I just assumed, if you had to pick one, that you'd go with that. But you're right. I mean, you can't say that one is good for every scenario because that's just never going to be the case. It's just not, that's just not it.
And this is what I want to stress to people, and it's hard because I'm an off-camera lighting instructor.
We lost your audio there, Derrel.
All right, should be good enough.
Cool.
We good now? You can hear me?
Yeah, we're back.
Right.
We're back.
Yes.
Cool. So I think you were saying something about being an off-camera light instructor. I wasn't sure where you're going with that.
So it's hard. Like this is what I try to push on to people, like, use flash when you have to. It's not all about flash, right? It's all about the art, right? If you choose flash, I'm going to show you what to do. That's kind of how it is, right? I'm not telling you, hey, use flash all the time.
Sure.
So it's kind of hard for me to kind of push natural light because they look at me as an off-camera lighting instructor. Right. But if you look at, you go on my Instagram, I do have natural light stuff because, I have one shot where we were at WPPI in Vegas, and we drove out an hour to Lake Mead, and we went to found some deserted spot, hiked an hour up in the mountains. Again, that was an experience. Actually, I'm going to talk about that after. Had all the lights, everything. Was going to do some off-camera flash, and I got there and I was like, actually, this natural light looks kind of dope. Got a natural light shot. I did my off-camera flash stuff, but when I saw that natural light, I said, you know what, let me get a couple natural light because it was amazing. It was amazing. And I like that direct light, that harsh noon light, direct on the sun. I like that.
Yeah, makes total sense. Situational, right? There's not one tool for every job, so you gotta have a tool belt. So you can screwdriver and a hammer don't do the same job, right?
Right.
Cool. All right, a couple more for you. What's your favorite camera accessory? If you had to pick any, could be a bag, could be a flash, could be a camera strap.
Accessory.
Excluding bodies and lenses.
Right. I'm probably going to say the one camera accessory that's gotten the most comments from people is probably my Spider holster. I got the dual Spider holster. So, and I have both my cameras on each side. I look like a gunslinger. It's crazy. Like
the photography cowboy.
Yeah. So I'll walk into a wedding, and I come to weddings. I like to dress up. I don't like to just wear all black and have my logo on my shirt. That's nonsense. I don't like to do that. I like to just rock some fly garments. When I walk in, people like, oh, that's another guest. Nah, B, I'm the photographer, right? So I like to wear nice clothing and stuff. And then I'll be rocking some nice garments and stuff. And then I'll have the holsters, and I'll just walk in the spot, and people are like, yo, who's this guy? Because I guess I have a certain walk. I guess I walk with confidence. People tell me they imitate my walk. I'm like, I don't walk like that. And then I'll see a video. I was like, dang, why'd you tell me I walk like that? So I'll walk into a spot, and I guess I just walk with confidence. And then I got these two cameras on my hips, and they're just like, yo, who's this guy? So I think that'll probably be my favorite accessory because it just people be like, yo, that's cool. It just looks badass. Right?
Yeah.
So that's probably my favorite accessory.
Right on. That makes sense. And then cool. I like to ask everybody too, if you have any recommended reading materials. So I don't know if you're a reader or not, but if you got anything business-wise or photography-wise that you think people should check out, whether that's a book or a blog post or whatever, another podcast, you got anything that might be helpful to people listening?
Books. I don't like reading. I'm
not a huge reader myself.
I'm a visual guy. I'm all visual.
Sure.
I won't read a book. I'll listen to the audiobook. I'll rather listen to a podcast, watch a podcast. I'm not a fan of reading. However, I am working on a book.
That's funny.
So, but that's early in the work. So I don't want to. I know we might even edit that part. I don't want to expose all the secrets, but books that I would oh man. Let me think. Hold on. I don't know about books, but there's definitely videos
Well, that's a good resource too. I mean, any other people that you follow on YouTube or photographers that you feel put content out?
If for business, I mean, you had Kesha on earlier. Kesha's a great example. She's very talented. She's artistic. Great for advice. I think just my peers, man. My peers, man. Shout out to my my boys. To Sean Jackson. Shout out to Kanayo. Shout out to Josh Dwayne. Jermaine Horton, these people, these are who I look to.
Okay.
And I come to them for advice.
Excellent.
Right. So, you go to your circle.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know
That's
what
a
I
great
mean?
tip. Yeah, I mean, those guys are putting out content. Go check it out because if Derrel's looking to them, they got to be a great resource to anyone who's listening here. So,
And like, yeah, YouTube, there's a lot of guys on YouTube, you know what I
oh
mean? And
yeah.
like, you know, so.
Oh yeah, I mean, and you're one of them. You're one of them. So this is a good segue because I was going to thank you again for joining me, and then ask you to do a little plug about yourself. Where can people find you if they want to know more about you? Where do we look to find you? And then if you got anything else, I don't know, the book. If you got anything else you want to plug, feel free to throw it in there too.
I mean, you can find me on Instagram, Derrel Ho-Shing Portraits. You can also find me Derrel Ho-Shing on Instagram. That's like my wedding stuff. You can find me on YouTube, Derrel Ho-Shing Photography. You can find me on Patreon. I got some exclusive content not found anywhere on social media, more educational stuff. And that's patreon.com/Derrel Ho-Shing. You can find me on Facebook, just having a mess, just messing around. You know me. I mean, I'm in the Facebook groups. I'm there trolling people. I'm there cracking jokes. So, that's where you can find me, man.
All right, right on. Perfect. So, all right, you heard him, guys. Go check him out. Find him out online, or find him online. Connect with him. He's been a great guest for the episode. I got one more question for you.
One more.
That's right. This comes from a listener. We like to have a section in our podcast where we take listener questions, and we are running low because I've been doing a lot of podcast episodes. So when this comes out, people listening, give us some more questions. I need some more questions to ask these professionals because I don't think I get to ask them enough. So, all right. So this one comes from Kyle. He says, photography is an expensive hobby of mine, and I'd like to justify purchasing some more equipment by getting paid to take photos. How should I go about pricing my photography when I've never had a paid photo shoot before?
How to go pricing your photography. So, I mean, you got to do your cost of doing business, right? So one thing you want to make sure whatever you do, it's not costing you. You want to be making money. All right. So figure out your cost of doing business. Okay. Are you going to have to drive there? How long, how far? Or gas, do you have to park? What is it that you're shooting? How long is it going to take? Are you going to have to do edits? What are you providing? What are you bringing to the table that, no one else can? Like, for me, I like to bring my personality. You know what I mean? My personality, like no one else has my personality. No one else has like right? So what are you bringing? You factor that in. And, you factor, your camera costs money. Your lenses cost money. You got to buy hard drives. You got to buy, camera bags. You have to buy, memory cards and so forth. So
sure.
You base it on that, and then you base it on your experience. Like, what do you think you're worth, right? Ask yourself, what do you want to get paid? Like,
that's
and
exactly
I find
how
a lot of times we get scared. We're like, okay, well, I want to get paid this, but I don't think they can afford it, and I don't want to put this high price out and scare them away or whatever. Like, you think, what do you want to get paid? That's what you want to get paid? Okay, you got to work towards that.
Yeah, and I think based off your question, Kyle, saying you want to get some more equipment, so find what is that equipment you want to buy. Is it a lens? Is it lighting? Is it what is it? How much does that cost? And then divide that up. Like, how many photo shoots you got to get paid for to do that? If you don't feel comfortable charging the full amount for that, that's a $1,500 lens, and you don't feel comfortable charging that family $1,500 for a photo shoot. Totally get that.
The lens.
Right? You could rent it. And at the same time, though, maybe it's not just that one photo shoot. Maybe it's like, okay, I'm going to do 5 photo shoots at $300, and that's how I'm going to justify paying for it. You could look at it that way too. So that may be a way to go about doing it too.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, well, Kyle, thank you for submitting that question, man. And to anyone else listening out there, like I said, please keep submitting questions. We'd love to hear from you. I'd love to ask the professionals we interview here what their insight is that they can provide to you guys specifically. You can do that by emailing them over to social@thepixelconnection.com for a chance to have them answered on an episode. But Derrel, that does it for the episode today, man. I thank you again so much for joining me.
Thank you, man.
I'm going to hand it back off to you. If there's any last little things you want to throw out there, feel free. But thank you again, man.
Oh, no, thank you, man. Just, thanks for having me. And, just keep creating art, man. Like, just focus on the art. Focus on the art. Worry about the tools after. Worry about the tools once you know what you want to do, right?
Awesome.
So, you want to get to that location. Okay. How do I get there? I'm showing you how to get there. Now you know what you need to get there. you know. So you don't want to be just driving aimlessly.
Yeah.
Right.
The navigation. We're back
Navigation,
there.
baby.
That's right. Hey, I can't think of a better way to I can't think of a better way to close this out. That's some great words of advice from Derrel Ho-Shing himself. So Derrel, thank you again, man, for being on here. Appreciate it. I look forward to talking to you soon.
All right, bro.
Guys, that was such a fun episode to record. Derrel Ho-Shing is such a talented photographer. He's so entertaining and he's just so passionate about what he does. I know I gained a lot out of that episode and I hope you guys did too. But before we wrap it up today, I have an announcement from the Pixel Connection that I just had to tell you guys about. There's new gear coming from Tamron. That's right, guys. Tamron's new 18 to 300 millimeter f3.5 to f6.3 will be available fall of 2021. This new lens boasts a 16.6x zoom ratio and will be available in both Sony E-mount and Fuji X-mount varieties. Tamron's first Fuji X-mount lens is highly anticipated and will be available at the Pixel Connection for purchase. So be sure to follow the Pixel Connection on all social media platforms, as well as get onto their website and check out what they have available there. And hopefully you guys will be picking up a new lens. Thank you guys so much for listening today, and I'll see you in the next episode.